Wondering what life is really like on Canada's wild and crazy West Coast? This podcast is all about the people, the places, and Vancouver Island time. Together, we'll explore this island paradise, a combination of ocean, city, and country living. We'll meet the fabulous locals, such as the Fudge Fairy and the Chicken Lady, who have chosen Victoria and Vancouver Island as their home. And we'll learn what makes this place unique and special to those who live here. And now, your host of Vancouver Island Time, Jane Johnston.
Hi everybody, it's Jane Johnston with the Briar Hill Group at Remax Camosun and host of Vancouver Island Time. I'm here with Marnie Dangerfield of Marnie Dangerfield Coaching, and we're going to be talking a bit about the Broadmead area, which is halfway between downtown Victoria and the airport. It's very central. It's almost a place when people come in they miss, but I find people who like to travel back and forth to the airport love this area. What do you like about living here?
Oh, so much. I mean, I love all the trees. I love the nature, how when they developed this neighborhood, they did specifically choose to keep the rocks and the trees in the natural forms. And as you said, it is so central, to get downtown or to get to the peninsula, to the Blenkinsop Valley, to the farmers markets, things like that. It's just really handy. And it's just a really peaceful place to live. Yeah.
So one of the things I noticed just behind your house, you have kind of a pond area. How big is it and what's it called and what's the story behind it?
It's called Low Brunner Park, and there's a small loop around it. It's a nice little stroll. It connects with all the trails that are in Broadmead. Some people don't know about them, but there are all these wooded trails all throughout the neighborhood that wind your way through, and this is a part of it. And it used to be the Low Brunner family actually donated the land. They used to have a big nursery in these parts, so yeah.
Was it a tree nursery or what, plants?
He was a plants person, a nurseryman, so it was broad as far as I know. I guess I don't have exact details on it, but I know even at Finnerty Gardens at UVic, there's a sign for him and his plant exploration and all his work with plants.
So were they the original owners of this property?
That landmass in this area, yes, yeah.
Cool. So you grew up here. Have you noticed a change? So first of all, a lot of these houses, they used to have a different type of roof. They had a cedar roof, and now with the aging not going so well, they've all moved to an asphalt shingle. That's been one of the major changes in the last 10 years, I'd say. What other changes have you noticed since you've grown up here?
There's been a bit more development, especially just right on the outskirts of it, with some extending a bit further up the road. But the main part has actually stayed pretty much the same. There are covenants in place for certain developments that can or cannot take place in the neighborhood, so that's protected certain things. And the mall, that's nearby, that's definitely developed a lot since I was a kid. There wasn't anything there when I was a kid, so.
Yep, she's talking about Broadmead Shopping Centre, which is quite a popular place for people to go. What I've noticed is a lot of people who maybe moved here 30 years ago are still here, hey?
Oh, definitely, yes. People, once they move in here, they don't want to leave, unless there's a really good reason. Yeah.
And it seems we are going through a bit of a regeneration. Do you find that as well? Like sort of people moving out and the new generations coming in?
Definitely. Since I moved back 12 years ago, I've seen a shift just in that time with some people moving out and new families and younger kids moving in, which is fun. It's been fun to see this summer more lemonade stands in the neighborhood and kids riding their bikes and going around the pond here. So there's a neat energy.
So I'm finding too, no suites are allowed in Broadmead.
That's correct, yes.
And they have a very strong community association, Broadmead Area Community or Residents Association. I think it's called BARA. Do you go to any of those meetings?
I have not. I'm a member. They do have a fun event in the fall. I believe it's in September at Broadmead Village Shopping Centre, which is a neat community gathering place. But there are some dedicated volunteers that work very hard that we appreciate. And there's a newsletter that they create as well, which just builds that connection with the community here.
How often does that come out?
It seems quarterly. Yeah.
Yeah, they seem quite involved. So when you're listing a property here, you have to have the specific sign, and they definitely kind of police all the covenants.
Yes, definitely. There are the covenants in place, and even with they're organized too with elections and that, not telling us who to vote for, but they will create space for the candidates to come together and for us to be involved that way as well. So yeah, they're a good group.
Good. So for somebody, let's say, moving into the area, what schools are nearby?
There's Lochside Elementary just down the street. Royal Oak Middle School is just hop, skip, and jump over the highway there, and Claremont High School up the hill. So those are, and there's St. Margaret's Private School is just down the road as well. So yeah, there's different preschools and such around too. But.
Yeah, and dance schools and all of that in the area. Do you find, so the Claremont people, they run a magnet program, which is related to certain sports, including rowing. And so we have a big rowing center here on Elk Lake, which is just actually being dismantled as part of the Canadian Olympic team, but the UVic team is taking more space in it. Do you find being in proximity to that rowing community affects your community at all?
Let's say I notice them, I guess, especially when driving down the highway and when there's a meet going on. It's like, oh, there's a lot of people and it's good energy. But yeah, just I appreciate their energy, and also it's neat. Claremont also has a great theater group as well. So there's always different things going on with having the schools around.
Yeah, I think it keeps us young, right? Living in a multi-dimensional population.
Definitely, yes.
What about so recreationally? What do you do? So there's the beaches along Cordova Bay, and there's Mount Doug Park. What else do you do?
Definitely walk in the neighborhood. Like I said, I do love the trails that are all through here. There's Rithit's Bog just down the street. It's a lovely loop to do. There's different tennis courts. There's pocketed throughout the neighborhood as well, so playing a bit of tennis. And yeah, I mean, the recreation, because we're central, you can kind of choose where you want to go. And even just, like I said, popping out to go drive down West Saanich Road to visit the farmers markets and their stands along the way. It's a nice activity.
Yeah, and there's also the Commonwealth Pool in that area.
Definitely. Yes. And a library, great library there too. Love that library. But yes, the pool and all sorts of programs that they offer at the Commonwealth.
And also, if you want to golf, you can go up just north of Cordova Bay, and you can hit the golf courses there. There are two. One's a little easier than the other. So do you go to the beach or Maddox Farm or that area much?
I'm often at Maddox Farm, yes, and I like to walk along Agate Park there, which is right along the beach, and just skip stones and walk, and there's always people there. It's a nice environment.
Is that a dog-friendly beach?
I'm not 100% sure. I definitely have seen dogs there. I'm not sure what their rules are, though.
Okay, let's talk food, since it's essential to life. So one of my favorite Mexican restaurants is up here, Cafe Mexico. Do you go to any of the restaurants in Broadmead Shopping Center?
I am very fortunate that my fella likes to cook, and so I have to admit I don't eat out that much. But I have heard great things about Cafe Mexico, as well as the new bistro that's in there. I know some people have gone and said great things about it. And of course, Romeo's is there, which is a kind of a standard for there's something there for everybody. And yes. So there's even across the Royal Oak Shopping Center, there's an Indian food place.
Fireside Grill,
yes. So there's lots of options right nearby, and even in Cordova Bay, the beach house right along the water there.
Oh yeah, and they just recently reopened, right?
Yes, yeah, it's got a beautiful view. So.
Yeah, so actually, that's a great place for weddings, I've heard, as well as the Fireside Grill is a great place for meeting up. It has a big meeting room, right?
Yes, there is. And now we have a new, what's the name? We've got the pink building now. Floyd's just opened up just over there too. So new places are opening up all the time.
Floyd's has opened up all over the place, and they are rather distinctively pink and purple, I think, right?
Yes. You notice it when you drive down West Saanich Road. It's like, oh, hello.
So you're talking about going down West Saanich Road. So actually it goes west of here, north and west. There's lots of farm stands. What's your favorite thing to buy out there?
Well, especially when things are in season, it goes by what's in season. But, Dan's Farm Market there, Gite Farm, there's broccoli, nummy garlic. I love garlic. Silver Hill Farms further down. Their corn is amazing. So basically what's fresh and local, ideally first, is always the best.
Do you ever go to the Red Barn Market?
Yes. And that's in Maddox Farm as well, so that's handy. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. So they opened up a new one over there.
There's been a Red Barn, there for a bit now, but yeah, it's good.
What's the name of that little tea place in Maddox Farm? Is it the...
Adrian's Tea Garden. Now, that's been there for a long time, actually. That's very popular. Every time I'm at Maddox Farm, it's full of people, so yeah.
And so the Lochside Trail goes here. Tell me a bit about that.
Well, it's a lovely connector and actually goes right by Lochside School. And you can take it one way right on out to the peninsula, or take it the other way and head right downtown. So and then out the Goose out to go west. So it's a good connector all the way around.
Do you find, so seasonally, obviously we're affected here. We have a very stable economy here, I think, because of all the universities and colleges. So we have Camosun College on the near West Saanich Road, interurban area. We have UVic. We also have Camosun, the main campus. Do you find, do you like having that kind of influence in our community?
Oh, definitely. Yes. Just that energy, the love of life and learning, that's a big thing for me in general, but to be surrounded by that and have that energy in our community, I think is fantastic. And there's, with different ages comes different energy and idealism, and it's fun. Yeah.
I used to teach at the university level. It was one of my favorite age groups to teach. So, do you find you ever, like I used to take my kids to the Vikes for the summer camps and stuff like that. Are you involved in UVic at all?
Not so much anymore. When I was younger growing up, I definitely was involved with the camps and going to watch the basketball games and things like that. But now I'll go to Cine Center to watch some of the fun movies they have out there. And when I know people are playing different sports, I'll go watch. But there's all sorts of things happening there too, though, with programs and yeah.
Yeah, the Cine Center kind of offers alternative videos and movies. I saw one about a young girl who was a hawk trainer, an eagle trainer, and it's one of the first ones in China, and all the sexism around a girl doing that.
Oh, wow. That would have been great. I missed that one.
It's kind of interesting, right? Because I think often we're fed our movies, so it's nice to see that alternative there.
Definitely, yes. They have quite a range of what they do show, so there's some mind-expanding movies happening there.
So let's just get back to nature before we close out this portion. Do you ever go up Mount Doug or go for hikes around that area?
Yes, yeah, it's a beautiful walk up there, and of course once you get up, the view is spectacular. Do the 360 and just being in amongst the trees. I mean, being here is one thing, and also going through the forest there's something very peaceful and uplifting about it at the same time.
I heard they don't open the road until 11 in the morning. Is that right?
I'm going to say yes.
That's right. I heard it on CBC, so it must be true. Have you ever seen any bears or cougars?
I have not. I've heard of sightings of cougars in this area, not of bears per se in this area, but we have heard of cougars, but I have not seen one. Yeah.
I saw a bear the other day.
Really?
On the beach, yep.
Oh my goodness.
Not in this area, further south.
We have all sorts of other animals, though. Deer, rabbits, raptors, owls, herons. We get all sorts of things, but not so much bear.
I imagine actually with the pool you get some natural wildlife hanging around.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Lots of a range of ducks. The wood ducks are really pretty.
Cool. Okay. Well, if you want to know more about the Broadmead area, contact me. I'm Jane Johnston with the Bar Hill Group at RE/MAX Camosun. Stay tuned because we're going to come back after this message and we're going to learn about Marnie Dangerfield and her business, Marnie Dangerfield Coaching. Talk to you soon.
Vancouver Island Time is brought to you by the Briar Hill Group at RE/MAX Camosun, Victoria, where we bring local expertise and global presence to your property.
Hi, everybody. It's Jane Johnston with the Briar Hill Group at RE/MAX Camosun, and I'm back here with Marnie Dangerfield of Marnie Dangerfield Coaching. So, a few years ago at eWomen Network, where I met you from, we had a number of coaches do a coaching evening, and I found everybody had a different flavor. So tell me, who's your ideal client and what kind of coaching do you do?
Great question. And it's so true and that's the thing I always tell people is find a coach that's right for you, because there are so many different people. And so you really want to feel into who you have that connection with and what serves you. So I'm a certified life and health coach. I call myself a wellness coach and advocate. And my ideal clients are basically women who are at that stage in their life where they've given so much and they've done so much, and they're at that stage where they just feel like there's something more, that maybe there's something inside them that like they've either really wanted to do, be, create, and their energy might be low, they might feel stuck, they're maybe a little bit of low self-worth, and just really feeling like there was something more and looking for a way forward, and potentially their overall health maybe not in great shape either. And so I work with them to create sort of an overall wellness package, so that they're focusing on their health and also what's going on internally, so that they're really enjoying this life, because I really think it's a gift, and I think everybody has their own unique gifts to bring to the world. And so the better you feel and the better you're taking care of yourself and how you feel about yourself, the better you are to present. And so that's the work that I do.
So how long have you been doing it?
2 years now, as the coaching. I say to people, I didn't realize coaching was a profession. And so when I heard what it was like, but I do that. So I feel like I've been doing it most of my life. But professionally certified the last 2 years, yes.
What were you doing before that?
I'm still doing it. I actually, I'm a certified gardener, and I have my own gardening business. So I love being out in nature, and that's part of the work that I do with the people I work with too, is getting them active and out in nature, because there is healing powers in that as well. Not necessarily gardening, but but what feels right for them. So yeah, I do have a small gardening business where I'm very lucky with my clients and gardens that I get to work in.
Well, that explains the beautiful dahlias out the backyard here.
Thank you. Credit, I have to admit, does go to Bill, my partner. So people come over and are always complimenting the garden, and I have to go, well, because I'm a gardener, they think it's me, and it's actually him. I do gardening mostly everywhere else but here. So shout out to Bill.
You're like the cobbler, right? You're not going to have the best shoes.
That's right. Yes. But fortunately he does it.
So I'm going to ask you, what do you think of the term forest bathing?
What do I think of the term? Well, it's an interesting term. I know when I first heard it, I was like, what? But I know the concept of it, of getting out in the forest and taking it in. And there is, I think, anybody who's walked in a forest and been still, and there is something that happens, and there is a power to it, and it does affect your nervous system and your body internally. So there are health benefits to it for certain. The forest bathing may or may not open up people to it, because they might think they're taking a shower in the forest, but it's not that.
I just think it's kind of a funny term for something like go for a walk and just enjoy the moment.
And that's what it is. Well, exactly. And I think, words are so powerful, and it's interesting when you look at the words that we use and how people describe things, and you kind of go, and then you find out what it is, and you're like, well, that sounds great. Why didn't they just say that? But at the same time, I'm sure some people resonate with the forest bathing.
So I used to be a phys ed teacher, and I do find that for me, definitely being in nature is one of the things that keeps me calm. So where we live right now, we have a long view of the forest and a valley and then the ocean. And it was something I grew up with in downtown Toronto. I had a ravine behind me, and I would always notice like when the buds were coming out. I am not a gardener though, but very much observant of what's going on in nature. Do you teach people about that?
If the person's interested, I mean, I meet people where they're at and what their interests are. Some people are very creative and there's different focuses, and so we focus on that. But if someone, I do get it in there a little bit just because it's a passion of mine, and I do talk about noticing which flowers are out or what's in bloom, and the changing of the seasons too is a part of who we are as humans. So there is, I do touch on that a bit, yes, just because we are part of nature. So it's part of the cycle.
I guess what I'm saying is sometimes I feel people are disconnected from their environment, and maybe with the advent of so much technology in today's world that really that's why they've invented terms like forest bathing, because they want to, advocate bringing people back out to nature.
Okay, yes, yeah, I get that. So, and so true. And I think, I know one of my programs is called Grow Your Own Way, and it's about, like I said, meeting people where they're at so they can follow their own unique path, but it's also about growing, and that's internally, but also, I can't stress it enough, the connection with nature and our, I think the more connected we are, the more we're going to care about it as well. We know there's issues happening with our environment and climate change and things like that, and I think the more we can, not that technology is a bad thing, but we can balance out, get more time in nature and like reconnecting, because I feel it's there's also something called grounding. I don't know if you've heard about the grounding, where you
put your feet on the ground,
just put your feet on the ground without shoes on, or get your hand in there and just make that connection to remind ourselves.
Yeah, it's funny. I grew up with a parent who absolutely hated us having our shoes off, and so as a result, I have very sensitive feet.
So you're like,
I remember going along a beach in New Zealand, and I'm like going, So, do you ever work with younger kids about connecting them with nature? Like, I'm thinking teenagers.
It's definitely on my mind. It's something I've been thinking about because I think they are such a susceptible age, and just it's a great time to also that reconnecting and the values and their own worth and such. It's something I've definitely been thinking a lot about, and I don't have my own kids, but I'm very close with some others, and just seeing them grow, and things are percolating
Yeah, I think you could talk to some guidance counselors about that, and because I think probably teachers and parents would love to see that, and it would maybe ignite something, even the science teacher.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, that's a great idea, and it's nice to have that feedback, because you have ideas and you think on them, and then you kind of put them down and go another way. But it's something that I do get excited about. So.
Do you find as you get older, you do that more, the sort of mental rumination? And then I do that too now, where I put things apart. When I used to work with my dad, I hated it because I'm like, just make the decision. But really, I find maybe is it a form of wisdom?
Oh, I hope so.
Or memory loss?
Yeah, because I've got journals full. But I think it is. It is like you say, it's like an idea comes, you write it down, you put it down, and it's still percolating, it's ruminating, and it's almost like when the time is right or the opportunity comes, it's there. And if you're connecting and connected to yourself and what matters to you, and it feels right, it's like, okay, here's an opportunity, let's go for that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, don't they say luck is really defined as recognizing an opportunity?
Yes, they do. And putting the work in beforehand, and it's luck doesn't just happen like that. It's you've done the work beforehand to lead up to that moment, and as you say, recognizing it and going, oh, here we go.
What sort of breakthroughs have your clients after working with you?
Often it's the realization, because I do a lot with meditation and gratitude practices and self-compassion and kindness, and the realization that sometimes it's actually, a lot of the time, it's the inner critic that's running the show. It's fear that's running the show, and their true value, their true worth, who they are, it hasn't been. And so when they're reconnecting with with their true self and the wonderful being that they are and the gifts that they have, it just changes their perspective and gives a more joyful outlook as well, as opposed to like letting the fear run the show and that inner critic that we all have, but can, if we're not aware of it, can just take over and keep people feeling stuck and not having power when actually there's always choices, there's always an option. So that's a big shift.
I find like in sales, and it's funny, I don't consider myself a salesperson. I consider myself more a service provider. But I've always said to my kids, like, how I approach my business, I always have to be positive, because I find it just makes it more solution focused.
Absolutely. I love that you brought that up, actually, because that's a big part of it is being solution focused as opposed to problem focused, because that's part of the way our minds work too. There is a bit of a negativity bias, and we can focus on the negative and what's going wrong and just get caught in that loop of what's happening that we don't like, as opposed to looking for solutions and what can go right. And as you say, from a positive perspective, that energy you bring just with your service, if you're coming from a positive space, the person you're dealing with is going to pick up on that as well. So you're sharing energy with other people. So it's to come from that place is much more empowering.
Yeah, I find it lessens my clients' anxiety.
Definitely, yes. Because if you're nervous, they're going to be nervous. What's going on?
And even as a parent too, right? Like how you interact with your kids if you're calm. And I mean, I have my fair share of freakouts. I'm sure my kids will tell you.
Well, I think that's being human. That happens, and it's. Parents are amazing. I have the biggest respect for parents, but it's true that monitoring of being aware of how you're presenting even in front of your kids, and are you being self-critical in front of them and being excessively harsh over something that's maybe quite small, which a lot of us do. And it's like, well, looking at that and maybe catching it and looking at a different way to frame things so that they're learning not to do that as well.
Do you find that when you're working with, is it males or females that you work with?
Females, yeah.
Does it change their relationship with their spouses?
There tend to be shifts, yes, definitely.
What kind?
Well, it varied. I mean, it depends on the relationship, but there's shifts of often what can happen is when you're shifting and coming from your power and being willing to speak up for what you believe in and what you want to do, and maybe putting some boundaries down of not doing everything for everybody, there can be some resistance for that for the people around you. And sometimes it's not that bad, and sometimes it takes communication of what's going on and getting that support. But eventually it sort of becomes the new normal, and people kind of go, oh, okay, well, I'll look after this. So, mom's not going to do it all the time. I can take this now, that sort of thing. So
resistance is futile.
Yes. Yes. Resistance go. Allow flow.
Let it go.
Yes.
So, what about with the kids? Resistance with kids?
Well, see, now I am not a parent, so I really try to steer away from that from too much, like, not parental advice, but I mean, kids, they're learning and growing, and they're going to be trying to put their own boundaries and learn what's right and what's wrong for themselves. And I know it can be tricky because there's some kids, especially, who can be really hard on themselves and be really, really fearful of trying new things. And I know there are people who focus on that and can help kids with that, of like you said, making that shift of sort of looking at solutions as opposed to problems, and building up their self-confidence a bit so that fear doesn't loom large, and that inner critic gets silenced a bit. And mindfulness and meditation can be a big part of that. Gratitude practice, kindness practices. I know there's some neat programs with kids for practicing kindness and helping other people and how it makes them feel about themselves. And it just, there's shifts that happen.
It's funny, all I've wanted for my kids, I want them to pursue a vocation that makes them happy, but I also want them to just be good, kind people. Yes.
Well, I think that's it for all of us. I so agree. I think that's the kind of, some people, they look for their purpose, and I think down. That's our purpose, is to be good, kind, loving people and care about ourselves, care about each other, and care about the planet. And I think the more we're able to focus on that as a priority, the better things will go, because we're coming from that place of love and kindness and compassion and being good. Like it's, yeah.
How do you recommend people start their day then?
Oh, well, glass of water before coffee, if you drink coffee. But a big thing for me is rehydration as a health tip, is just stay hydrated. And, when we're sleeping, we haven't had anything to drink for hours. So it's a really good boost for your system to drink some water. You can have lemon in it or ginger, whatever, or just straight water. So I start my day with that. I have some supplements I take that are good for me. And I recommend, if you can, I know people are busy, but at least like 5 minutes, right? If you haven't even started meditation, even 1 minute of meditation, of just committing to be still and breathe. My practice, I have about 10-15 minutes of meditation, and then I and a bit of gratitude practice, and I journal. But everybody's got different schedules. But I work on that with people of what they can start, and with changing habits, which is a big part of the work that I do, is shifting habits. We start small, like what's doable, what can do, and then you build it up 3 things, and it can be like 2 minutes. Just committing 2 minutes. We all have 2 minutes we can commit to something, and just creating that habit each day, and then it can build as it works. But yeah.
Do you ever read your journals?
I was just recently, actually. It was quite fascinating. And it was neat too, because there was actually some ideas that I'd forgotten about, and I was like, oh, hey, that. So it's interesting. And it's clearing out the mind too, of, even if sometimes it's just worry and stuff, it's like you get it down and you release it. And then you can go about your day. And others, it's like you get these inspirations after you meditate, like, oh, and you write them down. So it varies.
I actually recently bought an iPad about a year ago, and then I've been taking it to conferences with me, and I can draw and write, and so it's been interesting to go back over it and see the notes that I've taken and what's been important to me and what are my takeaways, and seeing what sticks over time, right?
Exactly. Because that's one of the things I found with mine. It was how much, like, oh, that's come up again. Oh, that word, like, seeing the repeating. It's like, oh, okay, let's look at that, because hello, I keep writing about that. Maybe not maybe, I'll do something about that. So it's fun when you look at that kind of thing and reflect back. And I like how you said draw too, because creativity is a big part as well. We are creative, like things come out, maybe not in words, but they can come out in doodles, and you can shift your thinking and connect with things through creativity. So that's another thing for people, is like, if you don't want to do sports or whatever, do something creative and get your body moving, get your mind moving. It's the whole package.
It's funny, I wrote 2 poems after my mom died. One about the process of watching her pass away, but the other, the day she passed away. And they came out of my father passing away earlier. And then I was just like, got the call in the morning. I was lying in bed and the tears are streaming down. And I'm like, typing on my phone. And the purpose of the poem was for somebody else to explain how grieving happens over time. It was really interesting that it just it came together like literally in probably 10 minutes. And so I went to a conference. I met a lot of women who happened to be the same age whose parents have passed away, and I was sharing the poem, and they it really resonated. So I think it was a good tool for me. Anyway.
Yes,
oh,
definitely. And it was a beautiful poem. Beautiful.
Oh, I forgot you saw it. Okay, so we're actually, like, remarkably, this went really fast. So tell people how they get in touch with you.
Well, my email address is marnied, MARNIED @shaw.ca, and otherwise I'm on Instagram at Marnie Dangerfield, or my Facebook page is Marnie Dangerfield. Yeah, it's my name, Marnie Dangerfield.
.com? .ca?
Yeah. Well, it's I don't have a website. That's just my Facebook page. Okay. Yeah.
All right. And if you want more information about the Broadmead area, contact me. I'm Jane Johnston with the Briar Hill Group at RE/MAX Camosun. Take care. Have a great day, and welcome to the neighborhood.
Welcome to the neighborhood. We hope you have had some insight into West Coast living. If you know of someone or someplace that should be highlighted in our podcast, we love to hear from you. Please go to VancouverIslandTime.com and click on our Connect button. See you next week on Vancouver Island Time with Jane Johnston.